League of Ireland football.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by the refreshingly alcohol-free RockShore 00. Get the facts. Be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
You are welcome back. So our League of Ireland Premier Division commentary continues tomorrow night. Our game is Waterford at home to Bows, and on commentary for us is going to be Stephen Doyle and Johnny Dunleavy. Captain for Waterford is Padraig Amond, who I'm happy to say is with us. Padraig, obviously a busy week coming up for you. 3 games in the space of 7 days, but nothing as hard as being a full-time dad as well as a footballer, right?
Yeah, it's full on, I suppose. Kids wanting to, especially when the weather's nice like this, to try to drag you out of the house so you're not doing an interview. But yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice to be able to do all of that.
What age are the kids, Padraig?
We've got Nisha, who's just turned 2, and Nolan is going to be 5 in August. So they're at that age where they're constantly on the go and wanting to do things.
But maybe the other one hitting an age actually where they'll remember you as a footballer now.
Yeah, well, Owen comes down to quite a few of the games, and after the game he'd come into the dressing room, and the lads have been really, really good with him. He really is getting into football now, probably due to his older cousin who's 7, but he has him supporting Liverpool now for my sins. I'm a Man United supporter, but Owen is Liverpool now, so that's unfortunately for me. But look, it's at least he's into football and he's interested in stuff, so once he's happy, that's the main thing.
And is Owen a greedy goal scorer like his dad?
Potentially could be, yeah. He could be, yeah. But he's just really enjoying playing all the little sports he can do now. And as I said, he's at that age now where he's really wants to come on to games, and he's loving everything about it. He's obsessed for some reason with height and people being fast. So he wants to be the tallest person in the world and the fastest person in the world. So he's when he comes into the dressing room, he obviously, Martin Powell's is 6'7" for us, and he can see how tall he is. And but yeah, no, he just it's great for him, like, to be around all this, and hopefully he does have memories of it. And I suppose that's one of the big reasons coming home when I did was, that he could get to as many games as possible. Being over the UK, I was travelling quite a bit, so it's easier over there.
Yeah, for sure. Having the kids so close to home, like I've always imagined, is something that was one of the massive factors for you in terms of joining a club so close to home for you. Yeah,
completely. Like, it's just even the support network for us as a family. But I suppose even for my family and for friends who've been travelling over the UK for years to follow me, there's an expense on it. Yeah, quite an expense on it. So I'm going to Waterford now is not too bad. And realistically, the majority of the league is predominantly Dublin based or in and around it. So if there's an away game, it's not that far. So there's constantly, people looking for tickets to go down to Waterford. There's quite a sizable contingent from Carlow who are going down every week. And yeah, it's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm loving it. Long may it continue.
Were you always a bit of a home bird earlier in your career as well? Would you be pining for home as you're knocking out another big team in the third round of the FA Cup?
I suppose it was, but you just get used to it. You realise I probably got to that age where a lot of people who were probably 26, 27, where the majority of their friends were probably gone away teaching or gone away travelling or whatever way they'd gone. So a lot of my friends had gone away, and now they're all back, or they're all coming back. So it's just one of those things. It was probably a lot easier for me in that sense, but things seem to be going well for me in football. The majority of the time while I was away, I didn't really go through that many really tough periods that some people have, which I can imagine that would want you'd be wanting to come home more or be around people you're more comfortable around and family members a lot more. But luckily for me, like, there was quite a few decent times over there, and then when we did settle in their family over there initially, especially in Newport, we really settled in and we enjoyed it over there. And the first couple of years of, I suppose, one's life was over there in Wales. The 2 kids were born in Newport. It was really, really good over there.
So most of your friends are people from Carlow, as opposed to people that you've made friendships through football?
Yeah, my group of friends is still the same group of friends that when I was younger I played Gaelic with, hurling with. Always kept close contact with a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of friends in football. Don't get me wrong, but you know, I probably always, in the back of my head, probably always thought I might come back home, and you know, I was always close to my friends over there, and they'd come over to watch games and whatnot. So it was obviously, it's a lot easier than reintegrating back over here when you're coming back and it's the same group of people that you've been friends with for 25, 30 years. Like,
Yeah, it's interesting to say that they've been away for a while and are coming back. I suppose just given the age you are, it's a lot of people were affected by the recession and had to go get work abroad, and they're now coming home. Is that basically it?
no, they were living the life.
Oh,
They were over in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, places like that, teaching, and enjoying the perks of it all over there. Lack of tax and stuff like that was probably a big selling point for them. But no, they were obviously travelling over there, doing their little bits, and then just time comes for people to come back home and start families, and yeah, it's just coincided really well, to be honest with you, for myself anyway.
Because you did dip the toe in Portugal for a little while earlier in your career. Well, did you get a taste of that? Did you like maybe a non-British or Irish culture of football and way of life, and wanted a little bit more of that, or did you think to yourself, geez, no, I've had enough of that?
No, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was don't get me wrong, that was difficult at times because of the language barrier and stuff like that. And you know, I could understand a lot more than what I could speak at the time. And it was good. It was just the standard was really, really high over there. And we just happened to do really, really well the year I was there, and I qualified for the Champions League the following year. And yeah, it was an unbelievable experience to get to play in those stadiums over there against the teams that they were. Like the year obviously I was there, it was the Europa League final. It was in Dublin. It was Braga against Porto. So we'll play against both of those teams and see the levels that those teams were at, and you can see the players that have gone on to or went on to have great careers after the clubs they were at over there. No, it was unbelievable. It probably would have been better if I was playing more number one and number two. It was a little bit closer to the Algarve, down where there was probably more golf courses and the beaches and stuff like that. Whereas we were up in the north, which is just outside Porto, which is, you know, it's not the Algarve, I suppose. It's not where everyone goes on holidays, but it's a beautiful city. And probably definitely a city I'd be going back to visit at some stage.
I assume over the last few years there was always some interest from League of Ireland clubs in bringing you back home, and particularly when you left Newport and you went down and played National League football with Woking. Why did it take you so long ultimately to come back?
Well, there was interest just before I left on loan from Newport. There was interest with a club over here, and I'd agreed a deal, and then everything just went quiet. The club just went really, really quiet, and like they had second thoughts, and you know, probably, without sounding silly, they probably regret it now, not going through with it. But look, that happened, and then possibility of another one came up, but because of the way the window was over in the UK, because Newport's a Welsh club and they're under the Welsh jurisdiction, I had to be called back by a certain date because I was on loan, which was, I think, was about the 15th of January, even though the window was open until the end of the January. And I just ultimately couldn't come back. And that time when the move did fall through, like, I had gone to Exeter on loan, spoke to the manager, and I was like, look, I have a great opportunity, 2-year deal, going back at my age, I think it was 34 at the time. And he was like, yeah, no, that'd be brilliant for you. He had family over this way as well, and he could understand it. And then that was on say a Wednesday, Thursday, and by the Sunday everything had gone quiet. But he had signed a replacement for me in that time as well. And then obviously that put me further on the pecking order because the club pulled out on the deal, and ultimately I ended up. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't looking to leave Exeter like at the time or anything like that, but when an opportunity arises, you have to look at what's best for you and your family. And it hurt a little bit because I thought I was coming back, and then the following year it nearly happened again, coming back to Waterford. It just didn't quite work out, and again, there was the club weren't letting me go at the time. We were doing really well, and thankfully it did the following season then. I probably dug my heels in a little bit more the following season. I was look, I need to go back, just purely because of my age and the contract that was on offer. Like it was the 2-year contract at 35. So, you know, a lot of people were probably thinking it was a risk from Waterford, but I'd like to think that it's been a successful period for both of us together. And it's been a good move for both parties. So yeah, very grateful for Waterford for doing it, and I'm really enjoying it, and I love it down there.
You have a lot more going on in your life upon your return to Ireland than when you left. So obviously the kids have arrived. I'm right in saying you've gone back to college as well?
Yeah, we just finished up there in the last month. So when we had when the mid-season break was on, I was probably the only footballer in Ireland in the country, because I was finishing off stuff assignments and getting and exams and things like that. So
what are you studying?
I've done sports fitness and coaching, so it's just the degree should be just done now. So I'm just waiting on the results of that. So hopefully I don't fail it and have to resit exams in August or September. But it should be okay. So yeah, it's just something I wanted to go back to school or back to college and re-educate myself and you know, add more strings to my bow when it comes to finishing up football and have a plan in place. And I keep talking to the young lads at the clubs I've been at and telling them to go do it. And you know, in fairness, I was probably like them at the time when I was 23, 24, thinking, yeah, sure, this will last for the rest of your career, but like, you just don't know how long it's going to be. So even if you're a couple of years into doing something and it you end up having to you know, if something happens in football, at least you're nearly almost finished it and you're in a good position that you're not starting from scratch. And again, I started that when I was over in the UK, and I've just come back now and just finished it off. So yeah, really pleased that it's done now, to be honest with you. But looking forward to whatever happens off the back of that in time. But hopefully it's not any time in the near future.
You mentioned there a moment ago that people might have seen it as a bit of a risk on Waterford's part to take you on a couple of years of a deal. Were there any doubts in your own head about how the body would hold up over the course of a 2-year deal?
No, not at all. Not at all. I had last year when the season finished up in Tala against Shamrock Rovers, it was my, I think, 69th game of the period of time that I played. So of that kind of 18 months, and 68 of them were starts. So I knew the body was going to hold up for this year, definitely. And I knew that it should be in theory a lot easier with only being 36 league games this season. So I didn't have to worry too much about that. So yeah, so hopefully it keeps going. I feel strong, feel really fit. You know, and I'm very happy with how it's been going so far. So yeah, long may it continue, and if I can stay away injury free, that'd be really good for me.
Let's see how good a multitasker you are now, Padraig.
I know. You have to falling outside, you have to bang on your knees. So
you need to go do a bit of parenting.
I can go in a minute. I'll get you plaster in a second, okay?
By all means, get the plaster now if you want, Padraig.
No, it's okay. We're all right.
There's loads of other avenues we'd love to chat to you about, Padraig. Like one of the basic things is, like, you look at Waterford in the table right now, 8th in the league, 10 points off third place, 8 points clear of 9th. What's the objective from here? Is it avoid the drop, or is it chase Europe? How do you look at that? Because it's a fairly finely balanced thing looking at the numbers.
It's chase Europe because, like, since the manager's come in, our performances have been a lot better than what the points total has probably shown. We've made a couple of mistakes. We're obviously a young team, we're learning, but we've made a couple of mistakes in games. Like against St. Pat's, we were the better team. We were without a shadow without the better team, and should have won the game. So that was disappointing. To drop points against Drogheda the way we did was really disappointing. And then even at the weekend against Sligo, that was again another disappointing result, because with a goal disallowed after a couple of minutes that we've seen that it was onside, and then with a couple of penalty shouts turned down that I don't know how they weren't given, to be honest with you. So it's disappointing in that respect. But you know, we have to chase Europe, because if we don't, then we start looking behind our shoulder, and you know, we'll end up getting to that stage where the season could end up just having petered out, where we might be just caught in no man's land. We're not playing for anything. So if we can, finish teams off when we're on top, and I suppose cut out the little mistakes that we've been making at the back, I think we'd be a lot likely. I know it's if ands and buts, but look at those results, and you put a couple of more points on the board, and it's a different question, I think. But we do probably need reinforcements. The squad is a little bit light with injuries at the moment. We've got players coming back. We've got a very talented young squad, but we've got to learn quick as well. We've got to learn and make sure that we don't make those same mistakes every couple of weeks. And if we can get on that run like we did when we won 3 in a row, it'd be great if we done it this week. Now, don't get me wrong. But you just put ourselves in a position where when you win a couple of games in this league in a row, you tend to jump up the table because everyone is playing each other and they're all taking points off each other. So you tend to jump up the table. So there's an opportunity there for us. We've got to go take it now and make sure that, as I said to you, when it gets to August and September, that we're playing for something and not looking behind us and looking over our shoulder at the teams who are trying to catch us, maybe.
You've got one of the most vastly experienced managers in the game now in John Coleman. Over 1,000 games at Accrington Stanley alone as manager. Had you any influence in his arrival?
No, not like I never spoke to the club about him coming in or anything like that. He obviously called me when he was thoughts of getting the job, and
you were with him for a season.
Yeah, he signed me when I went to Accrington. I met him when he came over to do his pro license over in Sligo when Paul Cook was manager. So that was the visit he'd done was over here. And when I came back on loan from Portugal initially, actually the first 2 nights in the UK I stayed in his house because there was an issue with the hotels. So John had just said, no, come stay with me for a couple of days and that, and he was brilliant. And look, he's had a fantastic career, and he's a very, very good manager. And I spoke to him when he had the chance of maybe getting the job and filled him in about the place, and he's been brilliant since he's come across. He's obviously brought Danny Venture with him, who's an ex-teammate of mine as well, and they've both been really, really good, and they have some fantastic ideas. And obviously with John's experience, and then you've got Danny's enthusiasm, and you all know what he was like as a player. He gave everything as a player, and he gives everything as a coach as well, and added to what we have down there with David Breen and Brian Murphy as well, and there's a very good group of them there, coaches. So we've got the right person in place, for sure. I still obviously disappointed that Keith got sacked, because I got so much time for Keith, and I thought he was doing a really good job. But obviously decisions have to be made at times, and it's a nasty industry sometimes, and sometimes the people you get on with the best in it, and obviously Keith was one of the main reasons I did come back. He was desperate to sign me, and be forever grateful for him for bringing me back. But yeah, we're moving on. Football moves on very quickly, and if you don't move on with it, you get left behind.
There's a lot of good strikers in the league at the moment. A couple of years ago, I remember there was a real shortage of number 9s, whereas now when you look across and you're even looking at the top scorers this season, there's a real variety from 37-year-olds right the way down to a Mason Melia and a Michael Noonan at 16 years of age. When you look at those kids, particularly Noonan and Melia, and having come up against them, and I'm sure been watching what their skill set is, what are your thoughts on where they are in their career?
I'd swap with any of them at the moment. I'd swap. If I could start my career off again, I'd love to be in their shoes. They've got fantastic talent. I've had small interactions with both of them, and they seem really, really nice lads as well. And from speaking to other people about them, they're all really their willingness to learn and to want to get better. And look, they're going to have fantastic careers. The world is their oyster, to be honest with you. And I wish them the best of luck. Obviously, just not when they're playing against Waterford. I hope they're fantastic and score goals in every other game, bar those ones. But they seem to be great lads. Their talent is undeniable. It's so good. As I said, I'd swap with any of them in the morning to be restarting my career at their age with their talent. And I think they can go very, very far.
And both of them seem to have that more old school strikers mentality that I suspect you your job is to score goals. And while they can do other things, and Noonan is incredibly strong, and Melia can drop a bit deeper and play off Aidan Keane if needs be as well. We've gone through a long period of maybe trying to create these false nines, whereas actually these two seem to have that ruthlessness as well to just score as many goals as they possibly can.
Yeah, look, I suppose football's cyclical, and it happens every now and again where, the Premier League was probably crying out for a couple of strikers, and then all of a sudden the old school number 9s like Haaland come back in, and but yeah, no, they definitely can do a bit of both, but they're more of like, they want to score goals, they want to get into the box and score goals. They obviously are able to lead the line themselves, and to do it at their age is an amazing achievement for them to be able to, seasoned defenders coming up against them, that they can at times run them around ragged, but they have good people around them, I think, with terms of the players and that are at the clubs, and the managers that are looking after them, and I think they've been very clever with when they're exposed to certain situations in game, and they've been able to, especially in, I suppose, Michael's case, he's been able to go in and out a bit at Rovers with the other strikers that they have, and it's very, very good for his education, and obviously it's going to benefit him in the long term going forward. Mason's probably a little bit different in the sense that he kind of took the place by storm last year and done unbelievably, leading the line just before Aidan came in, and then obviously when Aidan got injured at the beginning of he missed a couple of games, I think, and Mason really stood up to the plate there, and they're just very, very talented boys, and I think that, as I said, I hope they go on to have really, really good careers, and we're talking about them for years to come as Irish internationals, and hopefully leading us into tournaments.
I suspect it's not just about them not scoring against Waterford, it's also about them not scoring at all. I presume you want to win the Golden Boot this year again.
Yeah, of course. Look, you obviously do, but if I didn't score between now and the end of the season and we had a successful season at Waterford, I'd be happy with that, because as long as I'm contributing and playing well, that's what it's all about. But you've got to, I know what I can do. When I was younger, it was all about, I suppose, the selfishness of it all, of being, you had to be that one. Yes, you want the accolades, you want to be top goal scorer, but I think I've got a lot more in my game now at the moment than probably I've ever had in my career, in terms of what I can bring to the dressing room and on the pitch, whether it be just occupying people, and if someone has to double up on me and someone else nips in and Tommy Lonergan ends up with the top goal scorer this year, I'd be extremely pleased for him, and I'd be very, very happy for him, because it means if he's doing that, then ultimately we've done well as a club. So yeah, it would be great. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Just to prove a few people as well, saying that age, I'm getting older and older, but I still think there's plenty more years left there.
Who said it? Who's been writing you off?
Well, everyone does every week. Opposition supporters, some of them.
Padraig, you've obviously had some unbelievable days in your career, and as you've mentioned there, your kids being born in Newport, I'm sure that kind of felt like a second home while you were living there. And as I alluded to earlier on, it felt like every time we'd get to January, you would become the Irish story of the FA Cup, where you'd score against a big team, score against Manchester City. You'd have that moment with Pep Guardiola on the pitch after you scored against them. Is it too trite to suggest that it means more, scoring goals and playing for some place closer to your actual home? Or did Newport actually have that place in your heart as well?
No, Newport definitely did, and it's always going to, because of the kids were born there. It's always going to have such an affinity with me. I suppose when you have success at a club, you always remember it. And you'll always be fondly remember. People used to joke with me, I was like Michael Bublé, I'd come out in January, he'd come out in November, he'd come out in November at the start of December, but when January come, but that was when the media used to take notice, but I was still there for the rest of the season, and I was still scoring goals, but it was it was definitely like a second home to us. We've got some great friends over there, and still looking to visit there in the off season as well, to go up and visit friends that are over there and catch a couple of games. But yeah, I think it look, when you feel loved in a place, that's when it means more scoring goals, I suppose, or scoring goals that you're affecting things on the pitch and making the right noise on it as well. And we loved our time over in Newport, and obviously coming back home has been brilliant. We really, really enjoyed it. So hopefully, like I said to you, we can continue for a little bit longer, and the kids can see me scoring more goals over here and understand it a bit more.
You've got some all-time 11 that you've played against that we must go through sometime, even from Javier Saviola was playing in Portugal when we were over there. Hulk and Falcao was the fun too for Porto, so that was tasty. Like, even when you were playing Leicester, I see in the FA Cup, James Maddison was coming off the bench. When you were beaten by City that time, City obviously were showing you a lot of respect because they came out all guns blazing.
Yeah.
Who was the toughest defender during those FA Cup runs? Who was the one you went, all right, now I see why you're at that level?
I don't. It might sound silly, but like I always found the ones like from the Championship or stuff like that, like as defenders, they were the ones, because But the one thing that surprised me when we played against Premier League teams were the amount of success you could get in the air against them, because they weren't the old school centre halves that wanted to go head the ball. They wanted to take it down, and probably that's how I ended up scoring the goal I did against City, because they were trying to take it down rather than actually head the ball clear. But look, don't get me wrong, they were all unbelievable. I think that when you're playing against them, you see this, it's the speed of the players, and it's the touch and the pass that they wrap into the striker. Like, I was lucky enough to play against a couple. Otamendi was good against when we were at City, and he played over in Porto as well. So he probably doesn't remember me playing in that game in Porto, to be honest with you, though. Probably lucky I just remember him. But no, it was probably like we ended up with Middlesbrough and Millwall and places like that. They were probably the tougher ones in those games, just because they were the older school centre halves who would come through the back of you with a header and leave an elbow in, whereas the other centre forward or centre halves didn't really want to do that. They'd get tight to you, but they weren't trying to be nasty in that sense.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we must go back and do that, get your all-time 11 of players you've played against. In the meantime, we will be paying close attention tomorrow night, Waterford against Bow, Stephen Doyle and Johnny Dunleavy on commentary. We're loving this chapter of your career, Padraig, and it sounds like it's got a bit to go yet. So congratulations on a brilliant comeback, and we'll chat to you again soon.